Welcome back. My name is Dr. Desiree Nicole. I am a doctor prepared nursing instructor. My nursing students call me Professor Sanders, but of course you can call me Desiree because I am not your teacher. I am here. I am new to YouTube. Sometimes when I hear my students play my audio recording in class for various different reasons, usually I walk out because I sound to me like I got a tad bit of nasal problems going on, like I need to go take a little bit of a nasal medication myself. But I'm here, so let me know if I'm not clear on any of the information that I tell you. I was thinking about what people would possibly want to hear when it comes to nursing school. Nursing students come into the program that I am teaching at, and they are right away saying that, I heard this class is hard, or, everyone talks about how they struggle through nursing school. So I thought to myself, why is nursing school so hard? That might be a question that some people might have. So that's why I'm on here today. These are just my thoughts. This is my opinion. I've been teaching for well over 10 years. So these are just my top reasons. Number one, I feel like we give a large amount of information in a short amount of time. Like I said before, I'm in an associate degree program, but the same thing to me applies for bachelor's programs as well, because in bachelor's program, only the last couple of years you actually have the bulk of your nursing classes. So can you imagine, just think about, compare medicine to nursing. In medicine, they have all of medical school to learn their different disease processes, how to manage them, how to intervene, and, they interact with patients along the way. So that's 4 years. Compare that to 2 years, where, of course, you don't learn as much information, but we have to teach you about pretty much birth all the way to death. So we teach you across the lifespan. And we teach you what's considered normal, and we can teach you what's considered to be abnormal. That's a lot of information for, like in my program now is 5 semesters. Some programs are 4 semesters. So in that amount of time, you are going to receive all of this information. That in itself requires a lot of study time. It requires a lot of in-class time as well. I've been in programs where you'll have two nursing classes at the same time, or you'll have a nursing lecture, you'll have clinical, and you'll have lab all in the same course. Another reason why it's so challenging is many of our courses now in my program, they're not even the entire semester. So we're teaching you concepts in usually condensed courses. So I've taught a class where it was 5 weeks. I've taught a class that was 8 weeks. I've even taught a class that was 14 weeks. It's rare that in my program, any of the courses now are 16 weeks. And that's for different reasons. One of the reasons was because we needed to start the semester later because we had to make sure that all of our students had adequate time to get into the different clinical areas. So that took our 16-week courses to 14 weeks. In those cases, we still have to give the same amount of information that we would in 16 weeks and 14 weeks. And I'm sorry, I got a fly flying around my house, so I have to figure that out as soon as I finish, because I hate flies. All right, so those were, to me, 2 main components. Another component is that we ask you on exam NCLEX style questions. So that's a challenge because NCLEX style questions, in my opinion, are for someone who is going to be a nurse fairly, soon. So that's usually you take your NCLEX right before you become a nurse, right? So I took my NCLEX, I finished nursing school in May. I took my NCLEX the first week of July. So what am I trying to get here is that a lot of the questions we want you to think like a nurse. So your first semester of nursing school, most likely you're not going to be thinking as a nurse. You're going to be thinking more so as a college student. So it's going to take time to develop those skills to actually think like a nurse. So for me, It took me to my second semester in my first nursing program to get used to the style of questions. Once I did, so come semester 3, 4, and 5, it was fairly easy for me because I got used to the questions. It takes many of my students time to get actually used to what the question is asking them. And once they figure that out, then it goes much smoother for them. But I would say initially it's more complicated because they are thinking more like a college student, because college students, they're thinking about various different things. So they've taken English, they've taken math, they've taken science, they've taken all those different electives. So you're used to getting exams, but in many cases you're used to responding to those questions by reading over the information and applying what you know. When it comes to nursing school, you have to take that information and now think about it from a nursing perspective. What would you do as that nurse? And then more so now apply it to the question. So we say all the time in nursing school, you have to pick the best answer. So you'll have, say, if it's a fairly basic question, say it's multiple choice. So you have three incorrect answers and you have one correct answer. Many students, they'll read that question and they'll read over the answers and they'll say, oh, I can think of reasons why 2 of these answers will be correct. So that's where it becomes a little bit more challenging because it's more of, okay, you're the nurse, you're in the patient's room, and you can only do one thing, which to me, I don't think that's most realistic because most patients, you're going to probably do it in just one setting within one type of situation. You might do 4 or 5 things in probably under 10 minutes. So it's very unlikely that you're just going to do one thing for one patient at one time. But you have to answer these questions. What would you do first? What would be your the main thing that you would do for this particular patient? So I can make videos on how to answer questions because I do feel like that's a huge barrier for many nursing students. And lastly, and I'm sure I can think of more, but lastly, our grading scale. Our grading scale at my school now, and I can look up some for you, but at my school currently, our grading scale is very different. It's not 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 90 is a B. No, our grading scale is a little bit different. You have to, at the very least, you have to get 78% to pass our nursing courses at the program that I'm currently at. I've seen 78%, I've seen 75%, but in general, every program that I've seen that's associate degree and bachelor's have a slightly different grading scale than other courses that are being taught, at that college. So to me, those are some of the main reasons why many people say that nursing school is so challenging. If you can get ahead of any of these right away, to me, it definitely helps. One way I would say is start planning out your course right away. The very first week, start planning out your course. Start saying, I'm going to work. I worked on the weekend. So I worked on the weekend. So during the week, I was pretty much free to study. But I planned out certain days because you can't study all day and all night. I would say something like, I would study Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Then I would have maybe group sessions where I'll meet up with some of my classmates, maybe on Thursday evening. Just getting some type of a schedule. Also on my schedule, I would put down when the exams were, because your instructor is going to tell you that right away. They're going to tell you when your exams will be scheduled. Some of your instructors will tell you, exactly what's going to be on those exams. Others will kind of give you just like concepts that's going to be on those exams. I would write that on a planner. I would have that already scheduled. I would also write out days that I have clinicals or labs. So if you have a clinical right before an exam, at least you know that. So on days like that, I would possibly study maybe, before I go to clinical or after I go to clinical. So just be more so prepared versus just waiting till the last minute and you've been in clinical for 6 hours and now the next day you have an exam. or like I do clinicals now with my students on the weekends. It's been times where I'll have a clinical on a Saturday and students will have class on Monday and they'll have an exam on Monday. So you have to kind of plan that out. You have to kind of think ahead of time when it comes to your schedule. When it comes to NCLEX style questions, I suggest there's so many different apps. I would suggest having an app on your phone, doing NCLEX style questions throughout the day. Just look up, just do 1 or 2 every day. That will start to help you. I'm kind of old school. I also have books where, the whole NCLEX style book. So whatever topic that you're going over in class, I would go over that topic in that NCLEX book. I wouldn't overwhelm myself, but I will say, when I was going through nursing school, I wish I would have started doing NCLEX style questions ahead of time because it definitely helped. I was one of those students, I didn't know much about it, so I really waited till the end of my program, and I more so studied for NCLEX right before I took NCLEX. And I would not suggest it. I would suggest that you start to think about what you could do ahead of time to prepare. So just telling you a couple things, that I've seen over the years. Like I said, I'll think of some more. Those were just 4 things that I thought of that makes it a little bit more challenging. I also went to business school, so I can compare nursing to business. And these are the areas that are totally different than if you were going into another area. All right, well, thank you. Have a nice day. And let me know if you want me to cover any more topics into detail. Like I said, I've been all the way from associate degree to doctorate degree. So I know a little bit about getting through programs and how to succeed as a nurse. Have a good day.